at my pedalboard as is. I've built this thing about a year and a half ago. It's a great pedalboard. It does a lot of things. Can do guitar sounds and bass sounds and drop tuning and synth sounds as well. So it has a lot of opportunities, but I'm trying to make it even more flexible. You might have seen this in a couple of tunes I've made. Just gonna add a few things and change it around just a little bit because the signal flow could be a little better. Right now it's like this. The signal comes in on the compressor here on the top, the Compressor Mini by Keeley. Then it goes to the Harmonix Bass 9 Freqout by Digitech, TC Electronic Sentry, which is a noise gate. And this is only the input of the gate because the gate itself is later in the signal chain. After that goes into the Whammy DT also by Digitech. From the DT it goes into the EFX-LE, which is my main switcher for this board and mainly for the other effects. The first loop in this one is the actual gate of the Sentry itself. The second loop of the EFX-LE is a combination of the Line 6 Dr. Distorto. I only use the feedback side to create some extra sustain for the C4 synthesizer by Source Audio. In loop 3 of the EFX-LE there's the SL20, the slicer by Boss. I'm not using loop 4 at the moment on the EFX-LE. Loop 5 is the HX Stomp by Line 6, which I mainly use for my amp sim and all the other effects that are not on this board. And the outputs go back to the effect return of the HX Stomp. There's also a tuner output on the EFX-LE. This is where my Korg Pitchfork Poly comes in. There are also two expression pedals on this thing. One controls mainly the HX Stomp, and the other one is connected directly to the EFX-LE and currently just sends out Midi CC, so I can control a few things. Well, that was my old signal path. In a new setup, I'm gonna change a few things. First of all, I'm gonna change the order around of this side, so everything that's before the EFX-LE. And other than that, I'm gonna add a few things. So if you've been following the channel, you might have seen that I recently got a Space Rip by Pigtronix. There's a nice little spot over here where it can fit. I also got the Mainframe by Harmonix, the bit crusher. It's going to be over here. And lastly, the old trusty Multistomp by Zoom. So besides that, there were also some issues I had with some of these pedals, mainly Midi, because this is Midi, this one, this one, this one, and this one. When I made the board, the only way you can alter this pedal via Midi was with a USB Midi host. But now Source Audio has come up with a Midi adapter, especially for these pedals, which utilizes the expression input on the pedals. So that's going in between. The problem with the USB Midi host is that it doesn't have a Midi through. It doesn't let the messages through for the other pedals, so it ends over here. And that's the same with the slicer, which also has only a Midi in. and the DT as well, it also only has a MIDI in. So these are all points where you can't extend the MIDI going through the next pedal like a daisy chain, because that's what MIDI does and what it's good at. But doesn't help. Now I could just place a MIDI splitter in between, but there are also some things that are way better than just MIDI splitters. That's why I've bought the Blowcast MIDI hub. So this has 4 inputs and 4 outputs, and the cool thing is that you can add filters to the MIDI signals. You can change MIDI signals around, stuff like that. So it's really a versatile thing. So that's one thing. What I also have is there's a lot of pedals here that are on USB, but I don't want to connect every pedal again to a USB port on my computer. So I'm also going to place a USB hub in between. So this one has like 7 outputs. So that's also coming in there. And one of the problems that I also encountered was that you can't use the top row of the jacks on the EFX-LE that much, because I've got these rockboard flat patches, and you can place 2 of them on top of each other because the patch point is in the way. So yeah, you can't really connect those. I've bought some adapter plugs for that, and the cool thing is that it has some space between the actual jack and the plug. It's a male input and a female output, and yeah, I can connect the pedals in between. So these are also coming onto my pedalboard. One thing that I also forgot to mention is the whole thing has a dual mono setup. Basically, these effects are all stereo, but what I use it for is that one output only contains my guitar sound, and the other output only contains my bass sound that is provided by the Bass 9 by Harmonix. And I couldn't use it fully in stereo, so I also got some adapter cables. Hope you can see it as a stereo to mono adapter cable. These are for the SL20 slicer, which is stereo. For the pedals that are connected to USB, I also got these nice angular USB cables, so it goes flat to the underside of my pedal board, and don't have those long straight jacks hanging out of the pedal. So those are the main things. So first of all, change the signal path, add a MIDI hub, add a USB hub, and add a few extra pedals. So it all came together. It's all working. I had a few hiccups building it, but I'll get to that in a minute. So the signal path has changed a bit. I'm going straight into the Digitech Whammy right now. Whammy DT. After that it goes into the compressor and it follows the old path basically. Into the bass machine, sounds like this. Into the noise gate, because high gain you got some noise, Freqout. So it all works. The reason that I've got the whammy before everything else is because it has a bit of a tone suck when you engage it. And now with the compressor behind it, it compresses the tone suck away. That's basically how I would describe it. So the level drops a bit and the compressor makes sure that it stays in the same level. So really pleased with that. And also it's a great benefit because now when I do drop tuning, my bass sound goes down as well. So that's really nice. So I need one effect less in the HX Stomp. One other issue I had is with the Multistomp. When the board is not powered on but is connected to USB, the Multistomp turns on. And the thing is that it's powered then over USB. And USB power might add in some noise, as you might know. And this one really adds a lot of noise when you power it via USB. It's all gone when you power it with the regular power supply because it also has just a 9-volt input, and when a 9-volt is added, the noise is completely gone because then it switches over to the real power supply and not a USB power supply. The other pedals I've got is of course the Mainframe. So the really cool thing about this is that it's now in tuning mode, so it basically sets the sample rate according to what you're playing, and the sample rate is now 2 octaves above what you're playing, so it's a nice and even sound throughout, which is not the case with regular bit crushers. So it's like kind of crappy digital fuzz. So I really dig that. Now with the Space Rip from Pigtronix, I had some issues. Right now it's in loop 4. And you can see you can't hear anything. That's because it makes kind of a lot of noise, even with the noise gate on. So what I did is I manufactured a little cable that cuts the power supply when you don't want to use it. So if I want to turn it on via the effect switcher, I have to do 2 steps. Not only do I have to engage the loop, I also have to engage the relay switching system, which is usually used for amp switching and stuff like that. But I don't use it for it. So this time, when I turn it on, you can see the Pigtronix Space Rip turns on, because then it gets power. And this is a gnarly beast, man. Got some Prince of Persia music over there. So yeah, really nice sounds, but really noisy, as I said. Let me turn it off. So now the loop is disengaged, and when I turn on the distortion side of my amp sim, you can hear the noise, and it's really there if you turn the noise gate off. So that's why I turn it off via the relay switching system. You can hear this low rumble is gone. So it really helps when you cut the power. I also got the Blowcast Midi hub installed. I can switch to C4 synth with presets and stuff. Downside is when I attached it to the USB, and I don't know if you know it, but Source Audio has dropped a new neural editor, and when I connected it to my computer, it completely erased all of my presets that were on the pedal, so that's a big downside. I haven't made a backup of the pedal, so I guess those presets are lost. Really a bummer. Luckily my cloud presets are still there, and they're all available as well, so if you want to check it out on my profile, the DIY Guitar Guy profile on the Source Audio neural network. But yeah, the stock settings are still there. So they still work, that's cool. Finally, the MIDI through also works, so the MIDI path goes out of the HX Stomp to the Source Audio MIDI adapter for the C4, and the MIDI through goes to the Digitech Whammy. So now I've made some presets with the Whammy where I can easily switch the drop tunings, which is on this bank. So now it's half a step down, 2 steps down. Well, it's like a keyboard on its own. So that's really cool. So that all works. I can also switch presets on the Zoom Multistomp. I haven't made any yet, so it's basically on this doubler preset right now, which mainly consists of a double digital delay. This is dry sound. This is the doubler delay. So yeah, it thickens up your sound. Now, there's a EQ in here, but it's really flat. It's only there to cut the volume, because otherwise it would clip my sound card. So that's why. And I've also got a room reverb in here. There's a bit of space to the sound. Yeah, I also got the slicer in the stereo loop right now. So when I've got this guitar and bass sound, I can really create some cool patterns right now. So really cool patterns, because this thing just now works in a dual mono setup, with one thing being the bass and the other thing being the guitar. So yeah, really cool things. In this random mode as well. So yeah, a lot of cool sounds. It all works more or less. Some minor downsides, you know, with the C4 being erased and the Pigtronix Space Rip that causes a lot of noise, as well as a still Multistomp, but that's only when the pedal board is powered off. But otherwise, really nice results. I also couldn't add TC Electronic Sentry noise gate to the USB hub because the USB cable that I bought was too short to reach the USB hub. Otherwise, really cool. So a really nice setup. It's like a wet, dry, wet setup with with a stereo guitar sound and a mono bass sound. So 3 cables coming out of the Multistomp and the HX Stomp. There's only 1 power cable to power the whole thing and only 1 USB cable to just basically control everything. Yeah, except for the Sentry maybe, but all the things work. The editor on the EFX-LE switcher as well. But it's really a pain in the ass to to work with that. I'll get to that in another video. Really happy with it. Yeah, now just play around with it, I guess.